Okay, so I'm starting this over. Tried Mobizen Live, didn't work out right. Just too many technical difficulties. So I'll have to be kind of quick on the Samsung with low memory. What's up with mainstream ex-Mormonism? Mainstream ex-Mormon advocates and activists like John DeLynn seem to still be advocating the same sort of thinking we got in the church of follow the leader, follow whatever is mainstream in society, which is what the church advocates, and the church is advocating its own mainstreamism as it becomes more and more politically correct, which seems to be the same agenda that's being followed in ex-Mormonism as so many of these people move towards liberalism, atheism, and everything that's on the politically correct agenda. So I ask, following the leader, ask your doctor, ask your teacher, call everyone by a title that gives them power, like President Monson, President Nelson, President Trump. Do it mainstream. Don't use alternative medicine. Don't use homeopathy. Don't have home birth with a midwife. Don't homeschool your children. That's all stuff on the fringes for people that are mentally ill. Was that what John was intimating? That's what he was sounding like constantly in his interview with Tara Westover to me. It seemed to me like he was exploiting the fact that her parents were a little overboard on some things and possibly completely out of it in some cases. That's what everybody that homeschools is like. That's what everybody that has a midwife is like. That's what everybody that believes herbal medicine is better to heal you than, all sorts of drugs that don't actually heal you but wind up masking and altering the body's functions and then giving you all sorts of other results, which are euphemistically termed as side effects. Your skin will clear up, but if you have a heart attack and you go blind, call your doctor, if you can find the phone still. That sort of a thing, when you listen to the disclaimers, because Western medicine isn't medicine. It isn't to heal people. It's to mask things and generally cause you to need other drugs from the pharmaceutically controlled medical industry, the vaccine industry, the education industry, and the religious industry, the military-industrial complex, the media, the political arena, and the banks, and the big corporations that are involved in other aspects of our lives supplying the goods, all seem to have leaders that are buddy-buddy linked together, and many of them are Freemasons. They're occultists, and they are guiding us towards follow the leader, follow the prophet, follow the doctor, follow the president, the same type of thinking we have in Mormonism. And somehow these guys that say they recognize mind control in Mormonism can't seem to see it in the rest of society, where our leaders in the church have their associates placed or are associated with these other fellows that are a bunch of occultists in many cases at the head of these other large corporate interests, including the government. So, which is privately owned, just like our prison system. What's this say? LaSalle Corrections. Yeah, that's right. Just another privately owned company transporting prisoners from one of their facilities to another, I suppose, huh? Not familiar with them, but yes, we have a privately owned prison system. And so, what I've noticed is, whether they're Mormon shills, like Book of Mormon Central Stephen Smoot in the middle there in his lovely lavender shirt, sandwiched closely between his buddies from Three Mormons, Ian and Kwaku. Ian's since retired, who never will respond to any of my comments or my response videos. They'll talk to Mormon Informant, and Mormon Informant likes to comment on Self on the Shelf, like I do, but they respond to him, but not me. And Mormon Informant doesn't respond to me. I've put dozens of comments and advertised videos on his 50 Problems with the Mormon Church video, which has like 250,000 views, and maybe more now. He's silent. Once he said, give Jeremy credit on stuff that has to do with this, because I did a bunch of videos relating to aspects of his 50 Problems of the Mormon Church. They all talk to each other, they're all buddies. I love these guys. I think they're just really, they're not just funny. They've learned a lot about Mormonism, and they're thoughtful, but they'll never respond to me other than they gave me a heart for, talking about how I felt when I listened to one of their singing videos. So I think they're terrific, but somehow I get the silent treatment from all of these guys, whether they're pro-Mormon or ex-Mormon, mainstream ex-Mormon, which means we're probably atheist, and it's all about reason and psychology. You never had any real spiritual experiences. No. But follow your leaders in society now. Follow the psychologists, follow the doctors, follow the teachers, do whatever they say. And then there's Hallie, who also ignores me, but I think she's an honest girl, even though she is getting a book published, so maybe they're paying her too, but I think she's an honest girl trying to figure things out. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I like Hallie. I do not like the three Mormon shills. I do not like Greg Trimble. He's been on Three Mormons. He responded to all kinds of people, but he ignores my challenges, and he ignored my challenges made to him on his Book of Mormon Copycat of Hugh Nibley challenge, where I did 4 videos on that, and basically trashed his completely false premise that if you can't show exactly and prove where every word of the Book of Mormon came from, it must have come from the great Jehovah, who never existed till Raymond Martini invented him. So, Greg, like the rest of them, won't respond. Why? Is there a controlled opposition? Jonathan Streeter does a great job pointing out so many aspects of mind control and manipulation that is used within that by the brethren in talks, especially. That seems to be what I notice him doing a lot. He does a fantastic job of it. And he may have mentioned that it exists in other areas of society, but he doesn't seem to be aware of how it's used in the network of the secret societies, of the occultists that are at the heads of all these departments of society, where religion is used to create loyalty to government, which governments are provably privately owned businesses, whether they be cities, states, pension funds, counties, or countries. And we've got comprehensive annual financial reports to prove that, which I've done using the material that another gentleman produced in his Corporation Nation video. And I've got a lot of that material in several videos that are on a particular page on the website. There's Luna and Lindsay doing an interview with Jonathan. So none of these people will talk about the Illuminati. They might mention the Danites, do they just not know about it? Because what we've seen is that all of these things have been moved into a status of, folklore. Oh yeah, it's like an urban legend. They were in the past, but they don't exist now. The church tries to make us believe the Danites disappeared during the time of Joseph Smith, and that he had nothing to do with it, but we can see, guys like hitmen like Bill Hickman working for Brigham Young, or we can see what John Doyle Lee had to say, Hosea Stout. These guys were Danites. But we pretend they're not. We pretend the Illuminati doesn't exist. We pretend Freemasonry is just a men's club where guys get drunk and are lascivious, but it's actually a Luciferian religion. If we read their materials from those at the highest level, that's what we find. But none of these guys will even, I don't exist to them. I can comment on their videos. I've got a lot of material. I got 300 videos on, it's more than a lot of any of these guys except John DeLynn, and his is, encompassing interviews with people's stories in great measure. I've probably got the most amount of, material on Mormon doctrine and history in video format on the internet in the world, but they won't acknowledge that I even exist. And John DeLynn just recently, finally, communicated like 2 words to me on Facebook Messenger, because he accepted me as his Facebook Messenger friend, I think. If I can find the, where did I have it? Let's go into downloads and find that real quick here. Okay, so after so many times that I've tried to get John to talk to me and say, hey, look, what about doing a Mormon Stories thing, huh? He finally acknowledged that I exist, but hang on here. Good play here, I guess. It's an example of me trying to communicate with John DeLynn. He finally added me on Messenger and Facebook, for which thing I thanked him. Told him I wanted to do a Mormon Stories with him, and I'd been trying for weeks to communicate with him. Actually, I've tried several times before that as well. He says, what's the story? This is, way back March 10th. What we got? So, yeah, I give him plenty of information, and here we are 11 days later. He hasn't even said, sure, let's talk. I gave him my phone number. I gave him, various videos I've done. Gave him the website. Talked about activism. He doesn't even respond. It's just that. So, should I be wondering if there's some kind of common thread here, or is that just paranoia or some other kind of mental illness, according to John? I'm pretty sure that they don't just all not know I exist when I've commented on their stuff and I've got 300 videos on the internet. Maybe closer to 4. It's getting to make me wonder if it's part of a controlled opposition, even though some of these people seem so sincere. And I really think they do a lot of great work, but that's kind of the way it goes with controlled opposition. That's the way it went with the John Birch Society. Wasn't Robert Welch a Freemason? Of course, we didn't know that, but I've seen stuff to that effect. So they only focused on the things that they wanted you to focus on, the Council on Foreign Relations, but not the secret societies. Because if you get too deep, you find out that your religion's controlled by it. So here I've Googled Mormon Truth Videos Gospel Topics Hub. And so I'm finding a bunch of the web pages on my website. And control of the kingdoms of Satan, occult mind control in the kingdoms of Satan and Yahweh. So that's great, but what I wanted to do, here's Restoring a Stairway to Heaven. We can just go to that one, and then we'll go to the home page, and then we'll go to the secret combinations. So they won't acknowledge my website. They won't acknowledge anything, and after a while, you have to start to wonder. I mean, if you ask these guys, hey, you want to go get drunk on Zelf on the Shelf, they'll respond and say, yeah, message us on, some app or whatever. But you say, hey, you want to do a collaborative video, silence. That's what I got. I mean, I don't know why. I like those guys. They're smart, funny, knowledgeable. So this is the secret combinations page. So So, is there a way to get to the bottom faster? Because I wanted to get to the videos. Because I've got videos here that are on this subject of corporate governance and how the mind control is used and how these guys are all linked together at the tops of all the religions and the corporations of other types besides religion, such as government bodies, such as agencies, such as the private prison system, such as the pension funds like CalPERS and CalSTRS, that all happen to be invested in, all sorts of transnational corporations, foreign corporations, or whether you're talking about Deutsche Bank or Adidas or Bayer, all from Germany. Bayer being a spin-off of IG Farben, which was, a Nazi war machine, producer of a lot of aspects of weaponry supplies. So we've got these series of 3 videos here that I did on that. It's called as LDS General Conference, Corporate Governance Using Mind Control on Mormons like Jehovah's Witnesses. There are 3 in that series. Illuminated Masonic Mind Control in the LDS General Conference. And I did one that's a synopsis or an overview here. Not this one, not where we had Billy Graham, 33rd degree Freemason Billy Graham, Luciferian Billy Graham, big Christian evangelist. Here's the one called Overview and Excerpts from the LDS Illuminated Corporate Governance videos. And there's so much information in there that puts so many things together, linking all these guys together, and you see how they work together. The government works for, or the religious leaders work for the government. That's why they get the tax exemptions, Hey, John's got a 501c3. You see the Masonic handshakes and you say, gee, why is Thomas Monson giving a Masonic handshake to George Bush? Why is Gordon Hinckley giving a Masonic handshake to Dick Cheney? Why do we have all of these occult symbols here, all this mystery religion stuff at the head of America? Why do we have these things? So I really think that I've done a pretty decent job on this particular web page. It brings a lot of things together, and it's a story you don't hear from the other people that are into blowing the whistle on the church in so many ways. And how is it that they don't notice these things? And how is it that guys like John DeLynn play into the whole theme of mocking everything that is not mainstream, just as Dieter Uchtdorf would do? So here we got something I've showed many times before. Okay, so there's George Bush and Tommy Monson pulling a little grip there. There's Gordon Hinckley and Dick Cheney. Same thing. Okay, grip of the Master Mason. Look a little familiar. Does this look familiar, any of you temple goers? Yeah, okay. So, why do we have Mormon leaders linked with their buddies here promoting a war of aggression, which was mass murder, that Gordon B. Hinckley told us God wanted us to do? How much of this does it take before you realize he can't be representing any kind of a good God if he's telling you to go commit mass murder? I just wanted to go through a little bit of these political leaders and some of these other leaders, so that's their prints. I've done this in other videos. There's the Liahona, other occult things here, crystal ball, some stuff I've got there. And just kind of show how they all use the occult. They're all linked in the occult. You know, here we got George Bush's skull and bones ring. Yeah, it is Bush. I'd show that and other stuff. We've got various pictures done close up. So was it the Federal Reserve Building or the Masonic Temple in Washington, D.C.? It's one of the two. Time Warner, you can see this all-seeing eye and the 666 there. Swazi. I mean, the more we become familiar with the occult. Okay, so this is my rendition of the seer stones had a crystal ball, just to get a message. Here we've got, you know, celebs using the pyramid, Joseph Smith's magic knife, Joseph Smith's and Hiram Smith's parchment called Holiness to the Lord, just like we see on the temples, and they used that in their magic incantations while the treasure digs were going on, and they were sacrificing animals to the demons. No, that's not anti-Mormon BS. It's, you know, it's stuff you can research. Alright, Sarah Palin, Laura Bush throwing the Satan horns. Masonic grip here, the Pope, and was it Tony Blair? Disney showing how they build in, you know, 666 into their logo. So many companies do it. The Prince once again. Michelle Obama doing it. I mean, you can see, okay, these occult symbols here, the pyramid and the obelisk. Joel Osteen, Christian evangelist, making tons of money at, you know, marketing Jesus, throwing his 666 all-seeing eye. There's Bush again in that same picture. Alright, this satanic stuff here. Skull and Bones, which is George Bush and his daddy and his granddaddy. Pat Robertson, you flipping the bird? Okay, isn't he a Freemason too, like all these religious leaders? Okay, so there we go. Just gonna okay, was that Helena Blavatsky, head of Theosophy, Lucifer Trust, and of course her disciples Alice Bailey, and then disciple Ellen Gould White, head of Seventh-day Adventism. Copied a lot of Joseph Smith stuff, by the way. Okay, there we got some people, celebs throwing the Illuminati stuff, which you see the three Mormons doing, trying to mock it, saying, hey, we're not Illuminati, but we just happen to, you know, feel comfortable flashing it. There's Obama, there's Hitler. You know, they're all throwing this stuff, but no, it's just from the past. It doesn't exist. It's just a legend. We'll just laugh at it. But we find that our leaders are into the occult, that our celebrities are into the occult. So see the little red bracelet of Kabbalistic Satanism here on these well-known. Okay, so there's the Grove. Bill Clinton acknowledges that when a guy mentions it and gets hauled away immediately for mentioning the Grove, the Bohemian Grove, and he says, oh, isn't that where all those rich Republicans go and get naked against the redwood trees? No, I haven't been there, but you should go. You get a lot of fresh air. It's pretty funny. Bill recovers very nicely from that. It's in a talk that he's given in a smaller venue. Hey, George. Masons and Mormons, and there's so much symbolism that we find of the occult with these religious leaders. And here we got Albert Pike talking about Lucifer is God. Lucifer is God. So there he is, 33rd degree Freemason, and his book Morals and Dogma was published by the Supreme Council and given to, you know, Masons of certain degrees, not down in the Blue Lodge, but up a little higher, for over 100 years. There's Gordon and Kofi on. Bill Clinton. I mean, how many of these guys just happen to... Do you usually throw the Satan horns, you know? Okay, so here we got the inverted pentagrams, the sunstone on the temple. Here we got the Illuminati all-seeing eye at the top, and the Freemasonic compass and square that you find in your individual garments. We got the Queen, George Bush, Laura Bush. What's George doing? Oh, nice, George. Okay, these guys celebs or something, showing us their Masonic rings and That one's at Skull and Bones. Here we got some Skull and Bones boys here. Both of these guys are Skull and Bones, George and Carrie. So we were going to get one guy in the White House from Skull and Bones no matter what that year. Here, what do we got here? Eastern Star. Nice pentagram. They're using an Eastern Star. So, and what's the boys' organization? You know, with the Freemasons. De Molay. Jacques de Molay, Templar, burned at the stake when they were arrested Friday the 13th, 1307, thanks to King Philip of France and the Pope. There we go, throwing the horns again. Holiness to the Lord. Oh, nice. So same thing as the magic parchment says. Anton LaVey, 33rd degree Freemason, trained by Aleister Crowley, 33rd degree Freemason, who was his master at Ordo Templi Orientis in Los Angeles, just like he was of Ron Hubbard, L. Ron Hubbard, Scientology. Another semi-Christian religion, and pure Satanism, all led by Freemason occultists, trained and networked together. Salt Lake Temple. There's Georgie again. There we go. Recognize that. So we got world leaders. Alright, it's in Washington, D.C. Alright, Skull and Bones guys here. 3 generations of Bushes are in that. There we got the hexing star. Person after person you recognize. Dan Quayle of Indiana throwing the horns. Your Iranian dude here. Catholics. Is that Nancy Pelosi and Obama? I mean, Bush girl. At what point do you say, you know what, there's just too much coincidence? Trump, all CNI 666. Joseph Smith in the hat. There's your Book of Mormon. Channeled through occultism. And you thought it had to do with golden plates. 200-pound golden plates that he ran 3 miles with and knocked out 3 assailants during time of. Sure, the stuff we believe is absolutely insane, and to say that these people are not linked in the occult is insane as well. But no, we're told that if you actually believe that, you're mentally ill, you're on the fringes. These guys don't do this. They're not linked together. Another evangelist. They're not linked together in the occult. Look what Baphomet's doing. The Baphomet, that they worship high degree Freemasonry. Do you notice the Masonic? Yeah, that's right. You do that in the temple, don't you? Well, why do we have Satanism, Luciferianism, Mormonism, the political leaders, the bankers, the royalty, the celebrities, all the politicians, all involved in the occult, all putting signs that are recognizable? Temples. What are temples? Temples are occult. Temples are always linked to, they are places where occult religions are practiced. And the more you know about Luciferianism and the ancient religions, the more you see it within Mormonism. Was that Ken Copeland or something? I don't know. Joseph Smith's obelisk, the Egyptian obelisk, the shaft of Baal, which basically means, yeah, that's right, it's kind of pornographic. This is an all-seeing eye, basically. In the St. George Assembly Hall, I think. I saw one like that there. Okay, Charles Taze Russell's grave, Illuminati pyramid symbolism. Head of the Jehovah's Witnesses in the Watchtower Bible and Tractate Society. Yes, another occultist, Freemason, leading a religion. Notice this on the far right, how that resembles what you see on the temple. That's right. On the outside there, where we had those windows and stuff, yeah, you've got that Maltese cross with the circle, then you have the pentagram in it. just a coincidence, right? Just a coincidence that these are found in your garments, right? Your magic underwear. Another seer stone. Another picture, Joseph Smith's seer stone in the handy-dandy carrying case. So the Book of Mormon comes from looking at a rock, because that's what occultists do. That's what crystal gazers, that's what they do. So we got an occultist starting the church, a guy who sacrificed animals to demons and used that seer stone not only to find treasure in the night and sacrifice demons to them with his magic knife, which he slit their throats with after drawing the magic circle, but uses this to bring us the Book of Mormon. And then they give us these pictures and the ensign of him looking at golden plates, which he couldn't have even picked up. So yeah, I think that's pretty crazy that we actually believe this stuff. Got these occultists at the head of all these businesses and governments, and we're nuts if we notice it, right? No, he's not doing anything demonic there. He's not throwing a Masonic sign there, is he? I mean, none of these networks exist. You're just a paranoid schizophrenic if you believe that. These pictures, they all must have been photoshopped. Witchcraft star. Of course, if you don't know anything about the occult, then you just think it's natural, and you didn't realize where the words come for so many things, like, you know, things set apart, dedicated. You know, you're not thinking that stuff comes from Freemasonic temple dedications or setting apart seer stones through witchcraft. You know, you're not looking at the anagram here that says Mason. You're not looking, you know, that it says New Order of the Ages there, and listening to George Bush talk about the New Order of the Ages. Oh, nice! What token is that? Tony Blair, and is that the Pope? Why do we have all this Masonic, Luciferian stuff? Why do we have the sun god worship stuff? You know, the Vatican and Joseph Smith and the church, and here we've got political leaders. On the left, we got Gorbachev, looks like. We're on the right, we got Robert Schuller, 33rd degree Freemason. I'm sure you've heard of, you know, his ministry, as it's called. Yeah, all these big, you know, guys like Oral Roberts, Robert Schuller, Kenneth Cope, Ken Copeland, Pat Robertson, Billy Graham. Why are they a bunch of occultists and perverts, and why are these guys getting busted like Jim and Tammy Baker and all this stuff? They do all these marvelous healings, and then they're like, you know, he's caught in the shower with another dude or something, or paying off his secretary that he's been doing. They're all occultists, just like Mormon leadership, Jehovah's Witness leadership, and Scientology and SDA. Just a coincidence. Why do we have that obelisk next to the Joseph Smith childhood house again, right? Why? Why do we have them in Washington and the Vatican and, you know, the financial district of London there on the left? Why? Because those are independent city-states. They're countries. They're independently owned companies, like your country, your state, your pension fund, your county. So, anyway, the videos actually detail that, show the financial proof of it on these annual reports that people just don't know where to find or how to read. All the Masonic stuff in the Salt Lake Temple is just amazing. Alright, Back in Black is cool. Come on. Sounds good. So he's a screaming Satanist. Hey, Michelle Obama, what are you showing us there, huh? Why are you flashing these signs? So there we go. Right, coming up with memory problems here. Am I linking this stuff together? I wanted to talk about Mormonism too. But I just think somehow, if you look at enough of this stuff and you just notice, There's no way. You know, we're not making all this stuff up of all of us people that you're calling right-wing radical extremists. It's not just a bunch of Photoshop stuff. This is the fact that we've got the occult as a common thread. Yeah, in case you don't know, that's Salt Lake. So, between all these leaders and all these aspects of society, because they are networked together. Business, religion, and government. Can't go to war without the Christians telling you need to be patriotic, or Gordy doing it, you know, telling the Mormons to be patriotic, serve your country. God developed this country. God wants you to go bomb those damn Iranians or Iraqis or Afghanis, and they're just collateral damage if we kill 9 out of 10. You know, kill 9 for every one guy that they're supposed to get that they say is bad. They kill an extra 9 people, you know, with their drones. That's insanity. That's insanity. What's the Queen doing? Oh, nice. Which token is that? That's the Queen. I don't know, which token is that? Dick, Gordy. How much of this stuff do you got to see? You have to learn about the occult. Okay, so male, obelisk, female, dome, ovum. Ellen Gould White's grave, an obelisk. Okay. Hello, Satan. Now we'll just call you Lucifer. We got there, Jerry Falwell. The more you learn, the more you see the links. No, you're not nuts if you notice this stuff. You're not paranoid if you notice this stuff. It's there, but they try to obscure it. Yeah, that's right. This is the church, people. LDS. Once again, you got a pentagram inside a Maltese cross. Oh, they've got some apologists to tell you pentagrams aren't satanic. That was invented in the modern days by Anton LaVey. Yeah, well, do your homework. You know, you can watch people talking about it for ages. Ages. Not just, you know, Albert Pike long before this. The magic glasses. Why satanic stuff on LDS temples, people? Why all these people are into the occult? Okay, so Mormon God, Elohim. We already talked about free agency in the previous video being absolutely non-existent with Moses. He said if you don't worship Yahweh, then we'll just put you to death as a group activity. That's called mind control. But what about Brigham Young? Hey, kill your neighbor. Love them enough to kill them if they are not faithful. If they're going to apostatize, they're going to, you know, be in outer darkness. You can save their soul by just killing them. Shed their blood. Must be shed. Brigham Young. You can read it in the Journal of Discourses. This isn't some kind of anti-Mormon stuff that's made up, you know. Why can't you find the Journal of Discourses on LDS.org? Why don't they want you to see it? Yeah, I was looking at Church of the Latter-day Saints. They don't advertise that was the church's name for 4 years either, do they? Jesus couldn't inspire that. Hey, Don, old. Why do we have George Washington in the mirror image of the Baphomet pose painted by a Jesuit at the top of the Capitol ceiling? Why is America a private company? The Virginia company. Oh, look, Michelle's throwing another Illuminati sign. Why? Nice. Putin and the Pope. Are they in the temple? Yeah. Prince Hall Freemasons. Hey, why can't I join? Can I join your group? What are you guys, racist or something? Okay. Joseph Smith, obelisk again, Tooth Fairy. There we go. Oh, Ordo Templi Orientis. Hey, wasn't Benjamin Franklin into that, along with the Hellfire Club? Some other interesting things. His lascivious activities, the debauchery going on underneath the various so-called sacred buildings or something in London and Paris. Oh, look, it's the San Diego Temple. It's so holy. Hope it's not a giant pentagram or something. Okay. D.C., Nauvoo, Salt Lake. The Shaft of Baal. Think about it. Hey, that's what we see horizontally from Elohim in Figure 7, Facsimile 2 of Abraham. Does that look like the body part that he's pointing at poor Abraham? It's George Washington in his Masonic gear. His all-seeing eye and compass and square. 1776. What do you know? Hey, May 1st, 1776. The Illuminati given its birth on Beltane, May 1st, an occult holiday. A great book, I think, by Thomas Paine. So what if he's an Illuminist? At least he knew that the Bible was filled with contradiction, and he points things out very nicely for us. If you believe the Bible is what it says it is, then perhaps, or what they told you at church, you ought to read that and see how it goes when it's fact-checked. Or is it Satan just trying to drag you down to hell by fact-checking the Bible? Just because Jerusalem is there doesn't mean the stories are all true. There are plenty of anachronisms, plenty of contradictions, and plenty of things you probably weren't aware of. Oh, Reagan. Come on, Reagan can't be an occultist just because his wife was. Just because he was a Freemason and somehow jumped from movie star to governor of California to president of the United States. There's nothing to do with networks and connections, is it? A dark mirror, a seer stone, magic, Aleister Crowley. Yeah, they all go together, that's right. The Book of Mormon comes through occult magic. Or probably they were just trying to tell us that's where it came from originally, and really it was a conglomeration of various other books and ad-libbing by Joseph Smith. But they didn't want us to think that anymore, so they hid it for 100 years till public pressure caused them to put it on LDS.org out at the First Presidency Vault, admitting that Joe Smith was actually a would-be magician, which happens to be another webpage, God Calls the Magician's Apprentice, on my website, Mormon Truth Videos Gospel Topics Hub. Warren Porter Rockwell killed 17 people for the church, shot and wounded Missouri Governor Boggs on orders from Joe Smith. Yeah, he was arrested for that, but he hid the murder weapon, and Governor Boggs lived. But what about Hickman? He killed 52 people, I think, didn't he? He was Brigham's chief hitman. Porter didn't quite get the numbers. Nancy Pelosi. Okay, so I got tons of these ones, and okay, there's Joseph Smith's magic Jupiter talisman. What's a prophet of the God of Israel doing carrying a magic talisman to give him power over women and riches and all that kind of stuff the day he gets shot? Oh, they didn't tell you that in Gospel Doctrine? I mean, at some point, you gotta look at this stuff and say, maybe they're not making this all up. Maybe it's not all photoshopped. Leonardo da Vinci. Yeah. Isaac Newton. Why are all these guys magicians, but they don't put that in your science book? Why are they all occultists? Why are all these guys occultists? The Church of the Latter-day Saints, that's the temple. Yes, people, we're being misled by anti-Mormon mainstreamers to believe that this is all non-existent cartoonish stuff. I think we've seen way too much to think this is all just Photoshop. Emanuel Swedenborg, visionary savant, spiritualist, and inspiration for a lot of Joseph Smith's doctrines. Well, a few of them, like maybe 3 degrees of glory, pre-mortal existence, etc. Joe said that he thought highly of Swedenborg, other than the fact that he couldn't seem to make a living off of his ideas, which apparently Joe learned how to do better. Now, it is difficult for me to be coherent in thinking about some of the other things I wanted to say regarding the illogical business of Mormon theology, so I probably will have to save more of that again for later. There's our treasure-seeking Joe Smith and the imaginary gold plates that no one ever saw. I remember when I first was learning that 3 witnesses all denied it and said, we just visualized it. I never heard that in church. Never heard a lot of things in church. Oh, is that Gerald Ford? Is he a Shriner? Aleister Crowley. Okay, well, yeah, all our leaders are occultists, people. Doesn't matter what they're head of. Tarot card. Doesn't matter what they're head of. You're going to find occultists in corporate governance ruling society. There's Joseph Fielding Smith lying about the name of the church in Essentials in Church History. More magic stuff. More masonry. Oh, so the Beatles know these signs, too. They can throw the horns and the 666 all-seeing eye with the Yellow Submarine album cover. You stoned, McCartney? No, we're not being influenced by occultists. They're not in a club. I'm a paranoid schizophrenic imagining all this stuff. I photoshopped all this stuff, don't you know? Is you ignorant? Yep, there we go. The father of modern Satanism and its grandfather. So you got Aleister Crowley on the left and his disciple through Ordo Templi Orientis and Freemasonry and Satanism there. Anton LaVey, head of the Church of Satan, right there in Los Angeles. City of the Angels. What kind of angels? What kind of angels? Dick Cheney throwing the horns. We saw him doing the other, Masonic stuff. Now he's throwing the Satan horns out the limo. At some point, you got to say, this isn't just some weird coincidence. This isn't just some obscure photograph when somebody was drunk. Trump doesn't drink, remember? There's a point when you got to say, this has been hiding in plain sight, and I just didn't know it. 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 Dodgergame out.